Today, I'm bringing down my rankings and my brutal thoughts, Best Picture nominees for the Oscars 2025. So let's just get right into it. Number 10 comes in A Complete Unknown. Genuinely, this is one of the most boring movies I've seen in a while. I think it was extremely formulaic and it followed the exact same thing that every artist that ever gets a movie about themselves follows. Basically, it's about Bob Dylan's life, and Bob Dylan goes through finding his love, its fame, and then he finds himself drifting away from his love, and then he finds another lover singer that's in his industry that he hooks up with. His past love doesn't like him anymore, and then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and then he does this big performance, and then we love Bob Dylan. And I think the entire character arc of Bob Dylan is very similar to Elton John or Freddie Mercury. This was a very good example of how basic they've become. Timothée Chalamet's performance was absolutely amazing, but I don't think that even saves how boring this was. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5 stars. At number 9 comes in I'm Still Here, a Brazilian movie about a woman who is living in fascist Brazil, and all of a sudden her congressman husband is suddenly taken away from her and they never see him again. I also thought this was extremely boring and that nothing really happened the entire time. And then the ending of the movie is just that they finally get confirmation that the dad was actually killed in fascist Brazil. I don't know, it wasn't very impressive, and I thought it was, based on this Letterboxd reviews, I thought it was going to be a masterpiece, but wanted to get out of the theater when I was watching it. Fernanda Torres's performance was pretty good, but I also don't think that saved the movie. Whereas you have a movie like Nosferatu that got nominated for 4 Oscars, Sing Sing that got nominated for 2 or 3 Oscars that didn't even get nominated for Best Picture. And I really don't know why this movie was nominated. It didn't even get any of the substantial awards that make it deserve to be nominated to Best Picture. 3 out of 5 stars as well. Number 8 is The Brutalist. I thought that this movie was going to be an American epic that it turned out to be a crazy masterpiece that will live on. My main issue with this movie is that it's too long. It's like 3 hours and 30 minutes, and they have a built-in intermission in the movie because of how long it is. And so the whole movie for 2.5 hours is just Adrian Brody building a concrete building in the brutalist architecture style. The ending was completely shocking and for all the wrong reasons. And I really think that this movie could have performed so much better if it were just condensed into like 2 hours. I thought Adrian Brody did a great job. He did use AI to perfect his Hungarian accent, which I don't think he should have won Best Actor for that, but who cares? The cinematography was amazing. It was one of the best shot movies of 2024 in my opinion, but I don't think that saves the movie from a 3.5 star rating out of 5. Number 7, I have The Substance. This movie is literally Cocaine Bear meets Requiem for a Dream, and it is the most amazing thing ever. I went to go watch it in the theater, and that was genuinely the most uncomfortable movie I've probably seen in my entire life. I had a lot of fun just watching it, and it was really, really well made, and the ending is extremely chaotic. You kind of forget this movie is actually a really good movie when you're watching it. I'm glad I got nominated for Best Picture. Demi Moore did a great job. You don't really see a lot of horror movies getting nominated. I thought it was really well written. It is a very, very, very solid movie. That's why I'm going to give The Substance a 4 out of 5 stars. At number 6, and a very, very hot take, Emilia Perez, probably the most hated Oscar Best Picture nomination in Oscars history. So many people hate this movie. Its average Letterboxd score is a 2.3 or 2.4 or something like that. Its most concentrated rating on Letterboxd is half a star. It literally couldn't get any worse than that. Honestly, I thought it was extremely unique. I genuinely hadn't seen anything like that at all. I do agree that the musical numbers were absolutely horrendous, but I thought that the writing and the plot of the movie kind of made you shove that under the rug. Emilia Perez doesn't necessarily have the best acting, but I think it really has a good story. There's no message or agenda that they're really trying to push with this movie, and I really thought that was kind of refreshing. It simply is just an Icarus story. You flew too close to the sun and you learned a lesson from it. And a lot of people hate this because they think it misrepresents Mexico as a whole, which I agree it probably does. But as a non-Mexican myself, I had no issue with that. A lot of people say it misrepresents the transgender community, and it's like, wow, this is not a trans movie. Like, I don't understand why people are trying to put politics onto this movie and then saying that they did it incorrectly, because I genuinely don't think that this movie is trying to push an agenda. I think it's just using a sex change operation as a plot point to move the plot forward. Like, how do you misrepresent an entire community when the person that you're using to represent is a Mexican cartel boss who's killed thousands of people? Like, that isn't like a normal thing. So I don't think you can necessarily represent anyone in that community using a Mexican cartel boss as your representation point. I think that's just silly. And most of the people who hate it haven't even seen the movie, and that pisses me off. At least watch the movie. I recommend it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it definitely should have been nominated for Best Picture, although I do not think it should be nominated for 13 Oscars. That was kind of crazy. Now, at number 5, Wicked. This movie is a lot like Dune in that it's very slow in the beginning, but it's worth it, so bear with it. The production design is amazing. They really did a great job kind of capturing the magic and essence of Oz in the whole movie. Ending sequence, the Defying Gravity one, I don't know, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, because that ending sequence literally gave me chills and made the whole movie just complete. That was what made it Oscar worthy. Cynthia Erivo was also absolutely phenomenal in this movie. I didn't realize she could sing that well. She's just a hair off from Ariana Grande, which is saying a lot. I don't think 2024 would be complete as a movie year without Wicked. That's why I'm giving Wicked a 4.5 stars. At number 4, we have Conclave, which I really, really liked. It follows the story of the process of choosing a new pope after the old one had died. This movie is really not what you think it's about for the entirety of the first part. The ending purely just gives me chills when I think about it. And you kind of have this semi-slow narrative for most of it, but the last 10 minutes really seals everything and makes all of the rest of the movie that much more clear. My number 3 spot is the Best Picture winner, Anora. This movie was one of the most refreshing movies I've seen in a while. It genuinely was so well written. All the characters kind of interact with each other really, really naturally. Mikey Madison is amazing on screen. She definitely deserved that award, hands down. This movie also is kind of like Conclave in that you follow a more fun and more interesting rom-com-y narrative throughout the whole movie. And the last 5 minutes is when all of what you've been presented comes together in this really powerful theme. And the ending is very ambiguous, very, very smart choice for an ending. And I think this had one of the best endings of all of these Best Picture nominees. This movie just made me smile. It was very, very human. I'm also giving this a 4.5 star rating. I'm really not mad that this won Best Picture because this is very well directed and very well written. Number 2 is one of the more snubbed ones of the year, which was Nickel Boys. This one only got nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, and it didn't win. They're only nominated for 1 Oscar. But for the case of Nickel Boys, I think it deserved way more than just that. I don't know what the Academy was on, but that was one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. I think the racism movies and the Jim Crow era movies have become very stereotypical and very formulaic. This is a really, really nice breather. This is actually about a behavioral correctional camp in Florida. There's a great plot twist. There's so many different montages with just an amazing score throughout the entire film. And the movie was incredibly well shot. You see the whole story through a literal first-person camera. There was a lot of stuff with the camera work that was really missed when it came into interpreting this movie. Definitely deserves a rewatch. It's a shame that a movie like A Complete Unknown got 5 more nominations than Nickel Boys. It's just ridiculous, in my opinion. I'm giving Nickel Boys a 4.5 stars. Finally, at number 1, hands down, Dune Part 2. I genuinely don't know what the Academy was on this year. It got snubbed for everything. Hans Zimmer did not get a nomination. Denis Villeneuve did not get a nomination for Best Director. They didn't even get adapted screenplay. Dune 1 got adapted screenplay, and Dune 2 is the same type of adaptation. They used the same costumes, and Dune 1 got a nomination for that. The Oscars voters didn't even watch Dune Part 2 because they thought that the first Dune was too long and they didn't want to sit through another hours of Dune. That pisses me off because that's like, why the hell are you an Oscars voter if you're not even watching the movies that you're told to watch. I was coming out of Dune crying out of just like pure awe at the scale of the movie, at the way that it was filmed, the sound design, every tiny thing of all the team members that were working on Dune was just to invoke a sense of pure amazingness. I think Dune Part 2 is the prime example of what movies are all about, and it is a crying shame that it did not get more nominations than it did this year. Always and forever in my heart, Dune Part 2 is the true best picture of this year's nomination list. With the most certainty, I'm giving this movie a 5 out of 5 stars, and I don't really usually do this. If you can sit through Wicked, you can sit through Dune Part 2. Anyways, this was my ranking and my thoughts on the Best Picture nominees for 2025. If you are interested in watching one of my other videos on some other random topic, I'm trying to grow my channel, but thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.